Hey everybody, welcome to an Embroidery Sunday with the Brother PRS 100. Today I want to talk about one of the really cool features in this machine that will help you get better results with your embroidery, and that is basting in the hoop. Now if you're following along with me in the manual, the basting in the hoop feature is on page 96, and I'm really kind of excited about this because when I opened my machine up and I started working with some of my original designs that I was testing, they were taking up all of the room in the hoop. So for example, if I had a poppy design that I was working on that was designed for the 100 millimeter by 100 millimeter hoop, or the 4 by 4 inch hoop, when I wanted to add basting, from the machine, it would tell me that I would need to move to a larger hoop. And I went on with this for a while, and then I thought to myself, there has to be a way to maybe adjust the basting. And what I found was you can actually adjust the distance of the basting away from the edge of your design by 0.5 millimeter increments from 0 to 12 millimeters. So just to show you what that looks like, I embroidered some of these adjustable distances for the basting in the hoop out in these designs. And originally I was going to embroider them all, but honestly, a 0.5 millimeter difference is really hard to see. And if we look at the bottom row here, I have 0 and 0.5 millimeters away from the design. And honestly, they look identical. So depending on, what you're embroidering, it may, you may have to move it more than 1 millimeter increment to notice a difference. But the cool thing is, if you're working with a design that fits the hoop exactly, you can still add basting in the hoop and have it be, right at the edge or a 0 millimeters away. Now, I stitched out some of the other ones here. So this one is 4 millimeters, 6 millimeters, 8 millimeters, 9, 10, and 12. So you can see that there's a pretty good range of distances here. Okay, so now that I've shown you there's a variety of distances that you can baste away from the edge of your design, let me just back up for a second and talk about basting in the hoop and why it's beneficial to you and why you would want to do that. You can see in the hoop here, I have a layer of wash away topper, I have my fabric, and then I have my stabilizer in the hoop. And notice I did not hoop my fabric in my stabilizer. So number one, basting in the hoop is a great way to make sure that your fabric is going to be secure against your stabilizer, especially if you're only hooping your stabilizer and not your fabric. Some reasons why I don't hoop fabric. Some fabrics are a little bit delicate, and if you squeeze them between the two hoops, you can get shine marks where the hoops squeeze together against the fabric. And then if you're working with a heavier fabric, sometimes that's hard to hoop as well. So as much as I can, I try not to hoop my fabric. And basting in the hoop is one of the ways that you can really get accurate results without hooping the fabric to secure it in with the stabilizer. Another thing is, if you're using multiple layers, as I did here, it holds the topper to the surface of the fabric so you don't have to worry about it, maybe folding on top or shifting around or getting caught in the needle and jamming up your machine. So it helps create a safe environment for your embroidery machine to stitch out your design. And if you're working with something that is stretchy or has some give to it, if you baste around the design, it's going to hold the fabric to the stabilizer, which does not stretch, and help control the stretch of the fabric a little bit as well. It's especially helpful if you're not going to hoop your fabric, if you spray the stabilizer with something like 505 temporary adhesive spray and stick it on and then baste. So, spraying the stabilizer that you've hooped and then layering your fabric on top of that so it's adhered to the stabilizer with that adhesive spray, and then combine that with the basting in the hoop will really give you a good stable environment to stitch your embroidery on. So those are the reasons why I really love to use basting in the hoop. One other thing, if you baste in the hoop, you can double check to make sure your design is not crooked or cockeye or in the wrong position before you start stitching the actual design. The good news about basting in the hoop is you can see here the stitches are very, very long, and if I flip over my my hoop and I just cut, I'm just going to cut the little little knot in the corner where it stopped and started. I can basically just pull out the bobbin thread very, very easily. Okay, and then notice, oh, I even pulled the basting out. It comes out really easily. So if you make a mistake and your design is not in the exact position you want it, you can take the basting and the hoop out, adjust the position of your design, and try again before you start stitching the actual design. Because usually fill stitches are harder to get out or remove than, easy basting in the hoop. So that's our example. What I want to do now is show you on the machine how you can adjust the basting on the hoop. So let's go over to the machine. All right, so the first thing I want to do is show you where you can adjust the distance between the basting and your design. We're going to click the settings button up here at the top in the gray. And on the first page, if you go to the bottom of the page, you'll see Embroidery Basting Distance. Now you can plus or minus it by 1/2 millimeter increments. So if I go to +5, you can see the 5.0 has a black background. That means that that's the factory setting or the default setting. So when you turn your machine on for the first time, your basting will be at 5 millimeters away from the distance of your design. And I just want to show you, I can go all the way up to 12. Okay, and then we can go back down. So I'm going to go down to 2.0 because that's a good distance for the kind of embroidery work I do. And I'm going to say okay. All right, so now let's play with it a little bit. Let's select a design. So we'll just pick that star I had been playing with. Okay, and what you want to do is you want to put all of the designs or combine everything you're going to combine in, on the screen before you get your basting. Because if I set this and I select the basting feature, which is this pink flower here, notice the basting will go right around that one design. So if I go to add more, if I go to add more designs or combine more things with it, the basting in the hoop is only going to be around that one design. The other thing is, let me just return here, and I'm going to delete that. Okay, so I deleted the basting, and let's say I moved my star down here. Okay, then if I set that to embroidery, and I select the baste in the hoop feature, watch what happens. It moved my design back to the center of the hoop. So you want to select your design, and you want to select anything else you're going to combine with it first. So for example, if I wanted to, let's say, I'm going to let's just add some letters. I'm going to add star, just for something different. And we're going to use the medium size. STAR. And I'm going to set that. All right, so notice I can move everything together, but the basting is only around the star itself. Now, if you make that mistake, what you can do is return and then use the selection buttons to select the basting. So see, now there's the basting is selected. I'm going to delete that. Okay, and then I can move my star and I can move my design into position. I'm going to click the embroidery button again. Now when I baste in the hoop, the basting is going to be around both designs, and if I want to move them around, I can do that. All right, so that's how you use basting in the hoop. Remember, it's really important. The steps are select your design, and if you're working with multiple designs, get them all on the screen the way you want them in relation to each other. Then do the basting in the hoop. Then if you want to move the whole set of designs around, you can. Notice now the black here, the first color black is the basting in the hoop. The bottom black would be the lettering that I added last. So the color list is in order of how you, how the designs are entered into the hoop. And if you add basting, it's always going to be black up at the top. All right, so now let me just show you how that's going to stitch out. All right, so I have my 4-inch hoop here, and I just hooped it with some tearaway, and I just put a piece of fabric in there. I'm going to put a piece of wash away topper on top of the fabric so you can see how the basting in the hoop will help with that. I'm going to unlock the machine and I'm going to press start. I like to hold the fabric like this while it's basting, just to keep everything nice and smooth. So you can see now the basting is holding all those layers together, and all I have left to do is stitch out the design. All right, so that's my little tutorial on how to adjust the distance between the basting and the edge of your design. I do want to mention, once you change it to a different distance, it will stay that way until you change it again. So you don't have to go back in and change it every time. Just change it when you need to, when you're working with something different. The one thing that I can think of, I'm trying to think of reasons why you would want your basting to be farther away versus, closer to the edge. I think fabrics that have a nap or a pile to them, like fleece or velour or terry cloth, I think I would have the basting be a little bit farther from the edge of the design, just to give the design some room to breathe, and you wouldn't be squishing the loops and the nap really close to the embroidery itself. That's the one reason why, that's the one thing I can think of that would cause me to pick a distance that's farther away than 2 or 3 millimeters. Of course, if you decide 0 distance because you want to fit your basting in the hoop and the design takes up the entire area, just know that you're going to have to be careful when you pick that out if your design stitches on top of it. But I do it, and it really isn't a big deal. But just know that if you pick 0 for a distance, or even a 1/2 millimeter, your design may overlap the basting, and you'll just have to be careful to pick that little part out. So that's my little tutorial for this week. I'm super excited for the coming year. I have a bunch of different embroidery projects planned for 2022, and I think you'll see a lot more of me here on Sundays with embroidery tutorials using the Brother PRS 100. So I really appreciate you joining me. If you have any specific questions about the Brother embroidery machine or embroidery in general, please consider posting those questions below this video, because I love answering subscriber questions. All right, so I'm posting this on the Sunday before Christmas. If you celebrate Christmas, Merry, Merry Christmas. I hope you have a wonderful holiday with your family. I will be back on New Year's Eve for a FabFit Friday. So I will send you more cheer then. I hope you'll join me then before the New Year's Eve festivities. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Sunday.